recording. So this class is a 10-week class, and it is supposed to be like your introduction to all things ed leadership. For some of you that are coming in as a specialist but got your master's somewhere else, you have to also take this course. So some of you could be in different phases in your educational journey. This class is pretty fast paced in that you have an assignment due every Sunday until we get to the very end, where it's then a different dynamics to when that discussion is due so that grades can be posted. You are required to have 3 virtual classes, and the dates are already listed. They're in your Canvas module. The links to those meetings are already there, and we will meet on those days. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, those Saturdays. I like to start out with introductions, but there are a lot of you on this call. And I feel like if we go through everybody doing an introduction, it would literally take up our time of like 40 to 50 minutes. And one thing I do know is that we all did y'all all did the group discussion question to get to know each other. But what I'd ask that you do in the chat box, just put something in about yourself, and then everyone can then just kind of see it through that. Last trimester, which was the summer trimester, our first class went over. So I'm trying not to do that because you guys have to get on a 10 o'clock call with Dr. Sellers for your virtual orientation. So I'm gonna try to stay true to our time factor. So if you would just drop in the chat, just some basic information about yourself. And we're gonna do that because it's 3 sections in this class. So we have 3 different groups. So your group knows who you are, but the other 2 don't. So with that being said, if you would do that, I don't know how many of you guys have stopped to look at the syllabus, but the syllabus is listed on the website. So what I'd like to start by doing is just kind of perusing the Canvas website. I know a lot of you've done online, but I have received emails from a few that have said, I'm coming back to school. It's been a while since I've been in school, and just the virtual, all of that. So I want to just take a minute to go through that. If you have questions, please unmute yourself and ask those questions, because I do tend to keep going. And that's because I value your time. And so I try to keep it moving. All right, so we are going to go to the Canvas module. Okay. So for those of you who are experts in Canvas, you just listen through it, and most educators are, because if you live through COVID, you taught through Canvas. So you may know a little bit more about it than I do. So with that being said, majority of the things that you have due, they will be posted in this on this side of the screen on your right side. All the things for your general purposes and usage will be listed on this side of the left side. That's the book you should have purchased by now. That is our School Leadership for Results book. And I like to stop and say that every assignment, everything that's due for you, it comes from this book. You don't have to go out and do all this additional research looking for articles to add to, or because you feel like you need to put a little bit more in there from another source. That's not this class. When you walk away from this class, I need you to have a full understanding of this book. That's this class. So every in-text citation, I'm expecting it to come from this book, unless otherwise stated. And the only other place where it will be stated that you're pulling from something else is when you do the Ron Clark video, and there's another video. And then you'll cite the videos that you've read with the book, along with the book. Okay, and we'll get to that at a different time. So here's I went to the modules tab where you would spend the majority of your time. This is the space for that. It gives you some basic things, helpful things. There's the syllabus if you're looking for that. This is the academic integrity policy, and I will tell you guys, please read that. Please read it, because now AI is such a big deal in the educational scene. I've had to refer to the academic integrity policy quite a bit in these last couple of trimesters. So just read that and understand that William Carey University does not allow students to use AI in their writing. It is not something that will be used. And you're wondering, how is it caught? It's caught through the Turnitin format. Turnitin does catch if you're using AI to write your papers. So just be careful with that, because I will put a 0 in if the AI is detected. Here's your William Carey approved cover page for all of your assignments. You just need to change the title, who you are, your number, submit it to Dr. Nicole Cockrell. This is EDL 602. Roles of the principal. This is fall 23, 24, 24, 25. I don't know where I am. But you would want fall 24 and the date that you're submitting that assignment. I don't want anything cutesy with borders that looks all special that you've taken 2 hours to complete. I don't want that. I want you to click this little button here. I want you to download this little document here, and I want you to put your information on it and put this as the first page of everything you turn in. That is my expectation. Okay, let's peruse on. I think I got somebody in the waiting room. Alrighty, so wait, I meant to go back to modules, not that far back. That's where you will find the cover page. Then you have guides, reference guides for APA format. So with that being said, especially high school people who use MLA, APA is a little different from MLA. I really wish they'd go away from teaching kids that in high school, because when they go to college, then they have to learn APA. But that's neither here nor there. APA format, these are some quick references for that, just in case you do not have a textbook. The APA textbook is what I'm referring to. So these are some quick references to those things. How to use in-text citations, quotations, and then what is plagiarism. So just taking time out to pay attention to those things. Alrighty, going on mentor agreement forms. You guys will have your orientation with Dr. Sellers, and she will go through all of the things that are surrounding mentor agreement forms, as well as your clinical practicum hours. I'm going to tell y'all this today, but I know I'm going to get emails about it later. I am not of any assistance to you as it pertains to your mentor agreement form or your clinical practice. I am no help to you. When you have questions in these two areas, you need to email Dr. Kathy Sellers. She is your advisor for your program, and she will be able to answer all the questions around these two. There's the link for you to join your orientation this morning at 10:15. And I'm gonna let you off at 10 so you can have at least a bathroom break in the midst of going from one to the other. Now we're going into, you just finished week 1 of your classes. So everyone should have did the Dropbox for discussion 1 and the reflection and introduction. So these two things are already off into the world of Dropbox land. There is an instructor video that you can click on, that you can access a video that I put up for you guys to have information. And then there's this is just what's important for this week. Then module 2, I did not link the video this week. Oh, I must have took a nap. I will fix that. Module 2 is this week's things that are due and our link for the class. So you've looked at it because you're in class. And then again, telling you guys you have orientation. We try to put that on there a few times so y'all don't miss it or forget to go to that. And we're going to discuss your SMART goals activity, which is a group assignment today during this class block. So you have just some attachments there giving you a little bit of information about SMART goals, as well as the template. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. And now assignments for this week, you have a Dropbox assignment that is due for domains 1 and 2. You have 2 questions listed. There are 2 questions that are listed, and you have to answer the 2 questions. What would you do to ensure that you make decisions based on your school's data to improve student achievement? As a leader, how does one ensure that each student receives a viable and guaranteed curriculum? And this is just breaking down the domains. Domain 1 is a data-driven focus. Domain 2 is instruction of a viable and guaranteed curriculum. So this is just you taking those domains, and as the leader of the building, what would you do? Now, I spent a lot of time talking about the difference between graduate writing and I guess pre-graduate writing. And I always go back to graduate writing, you're not going to spend time talking about yourself. I would do this and I would, that's not the way. It's what would a leader do? You're putting yourself in that role, but this is what would a leader do? So that's that third person writing. As a school leader, I would make decisions based on my school's data to improve student achievement by, or as the leader of the school, I will provide a viable and guaranteed curriculum. So you talk about it from a third person perspective. Make sure your documents, as I said before, the cover page that I showed you guys, write the question out, like cut and paste this. That should be the first thing at the top. Then you start responding. Then you cut and paste the second question. Then you start responding. You're gonna include in-text citation. Your response is coming from this book. So you should be giving Carbo and Marzano the credit that they actually wrote the words that you're paraphrasing or that you're quoting. And then your last page is a reference page. It should have one reference on it. This is it, your book. Your textbook is the reference for the assignment. Are there any questions about that so far?
I have a question.
Alrighty.
Are we able to say as a leader, I would do such and
No.
such? Okay.
As soon as you put I in your paper, it takes
Okay.
it to first person.
I thought so. And I thought your example gave us the as a leader, I would, but you were saying that's what not to do.
Yes, ma'am. As a leader, one would make decisions, but you don't ever want to throw I, me, my, any of those in there. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That's a great question. Any other questions? All questions are good questions.
Another question. Have you had a chance to look at our reference page that we already turned in to see did we do that right?
I am going to get all of that graded between now and morning. So yes, I will get all those because everybody needs a little bit of feedback. So yes, I am going to get those, but no, I have not graded your assignments yet.
I had a question about the in-text citations.
Yes,
Since we're just using one source, are you okay if we cite the names of the authors and then continue with like P period and the page, or do you want us to do the full citation every single time?
So when you do an in-text citation, because we're only utilizing this one book, you literally can do the whole paragraph. And at the very bottom of the last part of that paragraph, it's Carbo and Marzano, comma, 20, I think this book is 2018. Close the parentheses in the period and be done.
Okay, so you don't want us to go into page numbers and all that stuff when we do direct quotes?
If you're doing a direct quote, you need a page number. A direct quote requires quotation marks and all the things. Then yes, you need a page number. If you've paraphrased what you've read and it's written in your language, in your words, at the very end, if there's no quotation marks for direct quotes, then at the end of that paragraph, you just cite it one time. And it doesn't require page numbers because you've paraphrased all of it. Does that help, Shauna?
It does. Thank you.
Okay.
I was trying to see, how do we submit to check for plagiarism?
So here's the thing about using the my brain took a break. It does that a lot these days. When you're submitting your assignment, it goes directly to Turnitin. You won't get a way to go in and check that because the system is not set up that way. Once it's submitted, it's submitted. and I'll see what your plagiarism score is and what your AI score is.
Do you have any like suggestions of what we could use, to make sure we're not, have a high amount of plagiarism?
It would be when paraphrasing, making sure you just break it down as much as possible. And there is a margin of word usage when it repeats what the author said. And it goes up to about 24% before it actually pops a different color. So when I get it, it goes from green, and that's like 0 to 15 or 16%. And then from about that to 24%, it is about an orange color. When I'm gonna respond to you that your Turnitin score is too high is when it pops red, because that means that the more of it is the author and less of it is you. Okay.
Dr. Cocker, real quick, can we use the Grammarly? I know it because I know it doesn't write the papers for you, but it helps with the.
I learned over the summer because I had several students using Grammarly. It pops fast for Grammarly.
Okay,
For
that's why.
Grammarly, I use Grammarly a lot because I have to send out lots of letters and different things. And Grammarly will reword it for you so it clear. What is it, for clarity or for personal or however? Well, AI on Turnitin picks that up as an AI document. So I would recommend using AI for your commas, your periods, that sort of thing. But don't use it when it makes a suggestion to rewrite it. I would not let Grammarly do that for me.
Okay, yeah, you'd have
Now,
to
if you
write
want to
it.
take a sheet of paper and write it out on the side and go back in and type it yourself, I
Yeah.
don't think Turnitin will pick it up. And here's the thing, guys, I am not punitive by no means. If I see something, even if you took these 2 questions and just went off cue and wrote about something else, I'm going to give you the score based off of the rubric. But then in the comment section, I'm going to say, please resubmit because I don't think you fully understood the question.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go down here to the rubric. And I have updated this rubric again this summer because I want it to be really clear. So how do I get my max points? Because I was a student at William Carey and I did not like when there were like 2 points missing. Call it being an overachiever, but I don't like that. So I like to have a clear rubric. So when we're looking at this question, if you're answering this question, if you provide the information specific from this resource, don't Google it. I promise you it looks different. And if y'all notice my book is all tabbed up, that's because I've read it a few times. Because I'll read something in a student's paper and I'll say, ooh, I don't remember ever reading that. I don't think Carl wrote that way. And I'll go back and look. And then what I end up doing is I'll do a Google search, and that's where it was cut and pasted from. So I've taught this class now a lot. I kind of know this book. So it's not going to be where you're like, oh, she's busy, professor. She's just going through there clicking and giving grades. I'm not her. She's not me. Okay. I read your papers. I literally am highlighting inside of your paper. So look in your paper because the comments are there. I'm going to highlight and I'm going to say like, your in-text citation here needs to look like this, or I'm going to say the wording here is a little choppy. Think about revising it to this. Not that I want you to redo it. It's just helpful information. Many of you are going to go on and do a doctorate one day. So I just like to provide the information you need. I do have an APA 7th edition. I'm looking at my bookcase over there that if I think your citation is off a little bit, I'll pull that out so I can tell you the correct way to put it in. So just know I like to provide information. If I did something that you don't agree with, shoot me an email and say, hey, Dr. Cocker, will you give it another look over? I will. I don't have a problem doing that. And then your narrative. Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm glad we got there. It says a narrative, for lack of a better word. Dr. Sellers and I, we like to use that word, but it's not a narrative. It is not a narrative. You are not typing up a narrative about yourself. It is an informational text article that you're providing. Like you're taking an informational book and you're providing responses to it. So it's more of a critique than a narrative. So please don't, again, use first person. I always I stay on that because I had so many students who've lost points because I've said, don't do first person, and they'll send me something that has I, me, my, all in it. All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox with that. Going back, week 3 is to me, one of the short weeks. You don't have very much to do there besides turning in domains 3 and 4 for the 2 questions. There are 2 more questions there for that week. I want to bring your attention here. When you're emailing me, as I said when we started, I have 3 sections of this class. Please tell me what section you're in, if it's 80E, 81E, or 82E, because what I end up doing is trying to find you in all the different modules, trying to find you in my different courses to figure out what's your question or look at the document you've submitted. And if it's one of those days, it's going to take me 4 or 5 minutes to actually find who you are. I'm probably going to be delayed in responding to you. I did not tell y'all who I am. I am a principal at a 3-5 school. So I don't just do this for William Carey. I am an adjunct for William Carey. But in my everyday life, I go to a building like you do every day, all day, to which I leave some days at 6:30 in the afternoons. I have a daughter who's an 11th grade cheerleader. So I am in all the Friday night lights every night. Every Friday I am there. And if there's something going on at the high school, I am there because our zone, we're in the Maverick zone out here in Madison County. Our zone, we do things together. So if they have something at the high school, they ask the elementary principals to show up. So I'm busy. I'm like y'all, I'm very, very busy with being a mom, with being a wife, and with being a principal. My husband's a fireman. And so if he's on a fire truck for 24 hours to 48 hours, I am a single mama with the kiddos here. So it changes the dynamics in our family sometimes, which he got on a fire truck Friday. I won't see him again till Monday. So that's what I mean when I say I get it. When y'all text or when y'all email me or inbox me and say, Dr. Cocker, life is lifing, I'm going to get that to you. I understand those things and I will grade it and I will give you the points that I can give you. But the part of it that I need y'all to understand as a William Carey policy is that I can give you grace by grading your assignment. What I can't give you grace in is it being late. Because when I do attendance and I like to share all the things. I'm very transparent. When I grade your assignments, like I've not graded this week, but by William Carey policy on Monday, I have to swipe through everyone's assignment to make sure it's turned in. If it's not turned in, and I've not done it because we haven't had our virtual, so I wanted to tell you before I started it. What I do is I swipe through, and if it's not turned in when I look at it on Monday, is I put a 0 in. It's your placeholder. It lets you know, hey, I didn't turn that in because it sends it to you. And then after that, I go into the attendance. And in the attendance, I mark you as absent. That really affects your grade. I don't know if they share that, and I know Dr. Sellers will share that during your orientation. It really affects your grade. Once you turn it in, I grade it, I go back to attendance, and it goes from absent to late. Late is like 80%. So you go from 100% 0 to 80% of a grade. So just say I give you 50 points because it is done and it's done correctly. Well, when it's calculated, it's only calculated as 80% of that assignment was submitted. Does that make sense? If I got some mathematicians on this call, y'all can break it down a little bit further. I'm an ELA person. So that's why some students, I've gotten emails that'll say, well, my grades aren't adding up with the points. That's why, because your attendance matters. If you can't be on a virtual call, that's absent. So that's 0 points. And I don't have the ability to change that. Even if only people that are excused are people who are in not jury duty because it's Saturday, but who are in guard duty. Those military personnel that have to go to their what's it called, weekend assignments. And so those are the only people I cannot mark absent. So that is, how the children say that's above me. And there's nothing drill. Thank you, Ms. Todd. Drill duty is the only thing that I have to excuse. I don't get to excuse a funeral. I don't get to excuse if you have a work assignment. I wish I could, but I can't. Even to a point, my daughter did competitive cheer last year. We're taking a break this year. And I actually taught this course from the hotel conference room because I don't get out of teaching it either. If that makes sense. Like I had to teach this course on the assigned day. And I did it from the conference room from 8 to 10. So I want y'all to understand, William Carey has policies, and I will be the first one to tell you I'm a rule follower, so I don't break policy as much. So just know that when you turn it in late, I'm gonna grade it. I'm gonna give you the points that you've earned for it. But the system is designed to take points when it's late. Okay, everybody got that? Okay, I'll get off of that. Thank y'all for being on. Alrighty, so we've gone through the Canvas shell. Do any of you guys have any questions about going through Canvas? All right, well, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to do this a little bit out of order because I'd rather us get to discussing your group assignment. And then I'm going to put you guys in groups so you can share information, get on the same wavelength on how you're going to disseminate information because you have a group project. Those of you guys that are in your specialist degree track, you have 2 group assignments, and you'll work with the exact same groups for both of these assignments. But the first group assignment that's going to come up will be your SMART goals assignment. And there's a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1 is simple, because part 1 is just that we've met, we figured out what we want to do. Part 2 is the meat and potatoes of the assignment. So that's why I like to give you a few minutes to let you kind of get together during this class block and share information, how you communicate best, whether it's email, whether you want to create a group me, whether you just like text messages. I will say this for those of you in the master's program or just starting the specialist. We had a group me set up when we started, and I did my doctorate through William Carey, and our group started together, and we had a group me that carried us through the end. And it's so helpful because people would give out like information on, okay, guys, don't forget registration opens tomorrow. All right, y'all, don't forget our assignment is due by this day, when dates would change. So the group me's it was helpful for me. Because at that point in my life, I had 2 in one in high school and one in middle and one in elementary. So it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with myself with all the assignments. So it is helpful if y'all want to, as a cohort, start a group me. But anywho, let's look at the group assignment. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to our Canvas shell. Okay, that assignment is in week 4 where I talked about the 2 videos, the culture and climate video and then the Ron Clark video. That's when you'll do a little bit different, something different with your citations. Let's see. Okay, this is your data project. The first part 1 of this assignment is due September 29th. And so the template that you will use for this assignment is in the in the module. So you will want to download this, and I'm going to show you this document where I've cleaned it up because I don't like all the writing that's at the bottom of it. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, there we go. We're cooking. All right, so what I do is I take that document and I cleaned it up. I took everything off of it. All the things that are listed at the bottom is like helpful information. You don't need it. So what you would do is add a cover sheet. Remember the one I showed you? Add a cover sheet, and then this would be page 2. For your first part 1 part of this assignment, the only thing your team is turning in is this. What assessment you guys are going to use for this, whether it is iReady, whether it's end of the year map, whether it's the US history test, and then your mid-year benchmark assessment. A lot of schools use MVP, what was Case 21. Some schools use another program, LS, I can't remember. They told me last trimester. But whatever testing you're going to use, you list that here. You list what grade level you're using and the subject area. Now, most of the groups are 4. I think one group has 5 members in it. You will only use one set of data. You'll get together. Some people may not have data, and some people may have access to data. But one person in the group needs to provide the data. And that one person's data is what you will analyze for this assignment. As you're analyzing the data, you will decide 2 areas of weakness that need to be addressed for student and school improvement. And so you would list whatever that standard is, what the data shows that the kiddos actually scored on it. So this was 12%, 12.5%. And then that's where you will stop for part 1 of this assignment. So with that being said, let me see. So this is just sample data. I don't know where it came from. It was provided to me so that I didn't have to use mine. But this is 3rd grade ELA from ABC School. So if you look at it, they looked through lowest areas, highest areas, and kept going until they found the areas that were the weakest. And those were the 2 standards that they pulled out to analyze. That's all I'm asking that you do. Now, when you turn in this data assignment, I need that data. I need you to attach that as a PDF or whatever in the Dropbox with your chart. Everyone is going to turn in their own assignment. Even though you've worked on it as a group, in order for me to grade it and give you a grade, it has to be in your Dropbox. So make sure you're turning in your assignment. Okay, any questions so far about this part of the data?
So
I
I had a
do.
quick, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So like if we use iReady, is it okay that we like our data is the actual like breakdown of every standard and everything that's already provided for us, or do we need to convert it and make our own Excel like spreadsheet?
No, ma'am. All I would ask that you do is delete kids' names if names are anywhere on it because of FERPA.
Gotcha.
But you can use that data. And no, I don't need you to make it pretty. Someone else had a question?
So my question was, on the cover sheet for this assignment, will we list all of the team members or just ourselves?
You would list your team, but only your
Okay.
email and all of that on that cover sheet. But
gotcha.
you do want to list everyone that's involved.
Great.
And with this group assignment, and every year, every trimester, I get an email that somebody in the group is unreachable. Somebody in the group is not working. Somebody in the group won't turn their part in. I'm gonna give the person who's not responding a 0. I just need you to understand that, and I'm not gonna take it away. You know, it's like expectations. The expectation is that you work as a group. If your life is lifing and you don't have time to get to what your group is asking, that's an email, that's a text, that's some type of a response. It's not ghosting people. You're adults, and I treat adults like adults. That's what I tell my teachers. I treat you like an adult. I'm not gonna go back and forth with a person in a group of 5 and 4 people are telling me one person is not reachable. Does that make sense? You're telling me 4 people have lied on you and you don't have any evidence that you've been in communication with your group. Group work is hard. We all know that. But at the end of the day, you have to work collaboratively in this course. It is the design. All right.
Dr.
Okay.
Dr.
Any
Cooper,
other
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Mhm.
When they asked about listing our group names. What was your response? Do we list all our?
Yes, the
I'm
members
sorry.
of your group, you would
Okay.
list them on there. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions about this part of the data?
Not about the data, but I would need to be added to a group. I know I looked at it a few days ago, maybe. I was added late to the course, so my name's not listed with a group yet.
You bet. Brown.
Me too.
What group are you in? I mean, what section? You're in 81E. I'm looking at it. Okay. You were added after I set up Canvas. That's fine. I will add you to a group.
Oh, I'm in that same class, 81E.
Okay, tell me.
Kimberly Dodd.
Okay, I saw K Dodd. I was just trying to make sure. Okay. Anyone else did not see themselves listed? I know in section 81E, there are a couple of people, but any other sections?
I also am not in the group. I'm in ADE.
Yeah, I wasn't listed. I was added late as well.
Okay, wait, who is that?
Andre Davis. And I'm in 82E.
Okay, this is gonna be interesting. Who is the first person? Someone else. Annabeth, was that you?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in ADE.
Okay, got it. Alrighty, I will try my hardest to fix that up for y'all. But yes, when I get the initial roster is when I start setting up Canvas. And yeah, this happens every trimester. It's nothing new for me. Alrighty, so with all of that, any other questions around the data part?
You go ahead.
I have a question. How do we find out what group we're in? Like, where are we supposed to be looking for that?
Okay, let me share my screen with you again.
Hello.
Huh?
Oh no, this is Charles Lee. I was trying to. I got added late too. I was trying to see if was I in a group.
Let's
80E.
see. You are not.
Okay, 80E, the master's program.
Okay, I will add you as well. Alrighty, so when we were talking about groups, and this is, I don't know which Canvas module I'm in at this moment. I'm in 80E. The groups are listed in this 2. So under week 2, very bottom here, group goals assignments, that's where they were listed. And they're in the same place in every course. I try to keep it the same as much as possible. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do now is do the breakout rooms where I will place you guys to meet with your group. And let me say again, the goal is so that you all can share information, you know, who has data, who doesn't, and just kind of get an idea around what you guys are going to do. And I will give you all about 15 minutes to be in your group. It's 8:42. It'll take me a few minutes to get everybody in their groups. I'm really organized with all my paper.
Okay, I have a question. I've never done Zoom where you break into a different group. Are we just gonna pop in a little group? You put us in there, and then when it's over, you're gonna pop us back into this? Oh,
Pretty much.
Okay,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
I want to make sure I didn't have to press a button. Okay.
Well, something will pop up on your screen and it'll say
Okay.
you're in breakout, blah, blah.
Okay.
Do you want like join? You'll click the join button.
Okay,
love
so
it.
that's okay. Oh, that's easy. Okay, thank you.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask some questions, so please come off mute because it's all about the attendance part of this. Terrence Bembry, if I butcher your name, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
I see it down here. You just have a T in front of it. Okay. Like I said, this takes a few minutes, so
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir, I got you.
Okay.
I am looking for Anna Sandell.
Here.
I see it. A Sandell. Okay. Okay, it is 5 of y'all in that group. Moving on. I'm gonna have to do a shout out for the people who put their first and last names in. Y'all are so easy to find. Let me put my glasses on. That may help me a little bit too. All right, yeah, that's so much better. All right, Vincent Hutton. So not on. Okay. Vincent, if you're on, please unmute yourself so you can get in a group and be counted. All important. E. Johnson, that's gonna be Eric Johnson, right? I'm gonna go with yes. Okay. Someone needs to mute themselves. Hey, Mason Sullivan, I'm gonna take your M. Sullivan as that's you. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Priscilla, I think that's you need to remove.
Okay, Holly. Okay, I see it. Never mind.
Here, present.
I got you. All right. Now I'm on room 6, so I'm almost there, guys. We have 10, so. And for those of you that, if you're missing a member in your group, just send them an email, and I am going to update the group list that's on our modules after today. Jenna Frost. Okay, there it is.
It's Tawana.
Tawana, I'm sorry. I will tell you, as a lower elementary teacher, I believe in phonics and all that, but I'm horrible with names, and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, Anne Roth. Do you have Marie Roth in the system?
I think Ann Roth is what's in the system, but I'm Marie.
Okay, it says Marie, so that's why I was asking.
Okay.
I want to put you in the right group. And then Vivian Woods, are you Renee Woods in here?
Correct. I think William Carey lists everything by Vivian. I go by my middle name of Renee.
Well, the university's gonna put your government name in the
They are.
Okay. Scylla. There it is. Almost to the end, guys. Please continue to bear with me. Okay. Taisha Jackson.
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
Boone in here?
Yes, ma'am. It's supposed to be Taisha Jackson Boone, but my canvas is my email is T Boone now. They had changed my name over the summer.
Okay, I see it. Like I said, I just want to make sure I have you guys in the right spot.
Okay.
Now, at the end of this, if you are not in a group, I will then assign you at that point. Because I'm looking at people that are not in a group, but I don't know why. Okay. Renee Woods is in a group. Renee, are you logged in on 2 different devices?
I left one. I couldn't get my computer to work. And so I got on my phone, but then I closed the one on my phone.
Okay.
So I should only be remaining on one.
I'm putting both of them in this group
Okay.
just so we can make sure we have the right one in the group.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Andrea Davis, can you tell me what section you're in? Gotta unmute. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and send these. I'm gonna go ahead and send you to breakout room. So you'll have 15 minutes. We'll come back. I'll request you to come back to the main room at 9:05. Okay. And anyone that's left on, I'll assign groups at that point. Okay. All righty, pushing it through. All right, are y'all left or waiting to be pushed into a room?
I'm left behind.
I did push you to a room. I did know that.
I didn't get a thing on my computer.
Okay, so you're not in a class then. All righty, let me go back. Tell me the section.
I'm in 81E.
81E. Okay, so that's the specialist group 1. All righty, okay, I'm getting ready to send you out.
Okay.
Really died. All right, Yvette Brown. What section are you in? Do you know? You're in the
81.
same one, 81.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, you're going. All righty, I have Andrea Davis. Andrea. Connor Freeland.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're in 80E.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank y'all for bearing with me. I am updating my roles, group roles on here and putting you in classes all at the same time. Takes a minute. All right, pushing you to 4. Okay, Renee. Okay, there's no one there.
They're just our breakout sessions.
Enjoying it? Yeah.
It's better than I thought it was gonna be.
Oh.
Hear you.
Sorry.
No worries. I
We're
prefer
all on the same
truth.
page.
I
Don't
prefer
worry.
truth.
Dr. Cockrell, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, my camera's not working for some reason. I had to come to school and my internet went down at home, and I think there's a firewall keeping my camera from working. But it was about data for our group. I teach biology, and I'm wondering, can I use the scores we got in May, the MAP scores from May?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure that was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. I heard that that was beneficial from someone. We're not gonna say her name. I do like for people to connect because it's hard enough to do a virtual class, but to be put in a group in a virtual class, it makes it a little bit complicated. At least to have a few minutes to get to know who your people are is important. I do want to ask, is Charles Lee on the call? And did he join your group?
He joined our group. I don't know if he's here now, but he was in the group meeting.
Okay. When I was going back through looking at the group members, it was where his name had fallen off, but he did get to participate in the group. Okay, that was okay. All righty. All right, the last part of this, we have about 50 minutes. I am doing good on time today. The last part is the class part. I know it feels like you did all the class part, but I actually have to teach a lesson. So I do have to prepare a lesson for y'all on these Saturdays. And so we'll do that part last. But before we get into that, I'm all about questions. I can talk till I'm blue in the face. And if you get off of this call and you're like, oh my God, what just happened? That's not effective. So if you have any questions, this is the time. Please ask all the questions that you need before we jump into the other part of this. Especially after meeting with your groups, if you have anything that is like clear as mud, this is when I would like to know.
I did have a quick question. We had 4 members listed on our group, but one of them was not pulled into the group meeting.
Who was it?
It was, let's see the name, Vincent Hutton.
Okay, Vincent has had a tragedy in his family. So with that being said, y'all please lift him up in prayer. He did email me earlier on in the week, just letting me know what happened, but please lift him up in prayer. He has a hard road ahead. Is the easiest way to say that. I'm going to email him when we're done with our class to let him know what group he's a part of, and with your William Carey email addresses, just so he can get caught up with that. But yeah, and just for the weeks ahead, it's gonna be a hard road for his family. So yes, that would be the only person. I feel really good though, because that's the only person that didn't join us this morning. That's a first. Is this football season? It's volleyball season. It's pre-soccer season. It's like all the seasons wrapped up in fall. And to be honest, this is normally the trimester I opt out of teaching. Like fall is hard because you're starting school. I'm having like a gazillion PDs and different things. So I generally opt out of the fall, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try it this time. This is the biggest cohort I've had to teach because it's a lot of y'all. It's like 40 people. So please let me say this. If you email me on Monday and you haven't heard from me and it's Tuesday, please don't feel like, oh, I'm gonna be like too forceful if I email her again. Email me again, please, because I have all that stuff on my phone so that I can immediately respond to people. But again, I'm human. Human error is the most error you'll ever encounter. And I will read it on my phone and I'll be like, okay, when I get home, I'll look for that and I'll answer. And then I forget. I think I have early onset Alzheimer's sometimes at the things that I do forget, and then the tedious little things that I remember. So you do not hurt my feelings if you say, well, I'm gonna email her again because I haven't heard from her. Does not hurt my feelings. I prefer it. Okay. I'm answering your emails. And again, it's 40 of y'all, but I have a building of 61 educators. It's a lot, and I have those emails to respond to. So just know that it's not that I don't want to get to it, it's that I just didn't or I couldn't. And I was supposed to PDF someone in this class chapters for this reading. I'm going to get that sent to you today. When I got to work on Friday, 7:15, we lost power. And I did not have power until mid-morning. And so by the time I got power, I was in recon mode or, getting people like going. And I had a program that morning in the dark. It's education, y'all. The program must go on. So I am going to get that sent to you today. And please forgive my delay in getting that to you. Like I said, I try hard to be very efficient and not waste people's time. But sometimes it just happens. So never ever feel like I don't even want to ask her this question. Ask me. If I shoot you a quick response, you'll see it says sent from my iPhone. So I'm probably sitting in my car or sitting in something and I'm like, oh, I have an answer. Let me answer real quick. It may not be fluffy. It may not say, hey, how you doing? Did you have a good day today? It will be a specific response to your question. I'm a wordy, what do they call it? I'm a chatty Cathy. So I'm normally the person who will sit and talk with you forever and a day. However, I try to be as efficient as I can. So please don't think, oh, she just responded. That was quick. Maybe I shouldn't have asked that. Don't overthink it. Send it to me. I'll respond. I'll get back with you. Okay. The guys in the group are like, meh, I don't care about that. The ladies in the group, I know some of you are probably that way because I work with a lot of women. And I'm not fluffy when it comes to responses and emails. I'm efficient. So just so you know that. For people who got on the call later in the morning, please make sure you drop your name in the chat so that I can give you credit for attending class today. Because I do print that chat off and I add it as part of my artifacts that you attended. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go really quickly through this PowerPoint presentation about domains 1 and 2. Well, that didn't work. Try it again. Here we go. All right, so I will tell you that this book and all the things that are in it are really cornerstones for a leader. I guess that's why I dug so deep into it. When I started teaching this course, I was the assistant principal in the school that I'm in currently. This is year 2 as head principal in the building. I have been at my school since the doors of the building opened in some capacity or another. And so I get to lead people that I consider my friends, confidants, and I don't lead from a boss's seat. I don't want to be anyone's boss. I want to be the leader, but I also want to work alongside people. And I don't think you can be a principal who sits in an ivory tower and give down instructions. I want to be the person who leads beside people. And so that's why this book is so important. Reading it, you'll learn so many things. I will tell you the one thing you'll end up doing when you're reading it, you'll be like, oh, my principal doesn't do that. Oh God. I mean, I've never had a principal do that. Or you'll start thinking about things that your principal does and does very well. Because you will be working on practicum hours as you move forward, the things that you see that are not happening, I would tell you to start a little notebook, a little journal, and write those things down. Those are areas where you can get practicum hours and say, and helping your leaders see those things. I will tell you, I've done this course as the instructor, but I've also had teachers in my building before I taught it that worked as my person. I was their person as they were getting their hours, that would come to me and say, hey, do we do this? And I'm like, I don't think so. Let me get with, my principal at the time and see, can you implement that? So just think outside the box of, this is a course I need to get an A in and move forward. Lean into the information that's presented and take away what you can take away from it. Some of it you may not think anything of. And I've shared with the other classes before you, Domain 6 was my area of weakness. The financial budget part, it's a gazillion budget codes. And I'm like literally sitting with my bookkeeper now, writing down, okay, this is only for this. Oh, this is only for this. I cannot move money from this budget code. I can move money from this budget code. You have to figure out what area you're going to have to work on when you take the seat as the principal. So just lean into the information, put up the things you can use, and get rid of the things you can't. All right, so you guys, I think if I'm remembering correctly, you will have to take a end of the course assessment. So again, this book will help with some of that. Not this course, but when you're getting ready to exit the specialist degree program. So this whole book is designed to support school leaders to improve their practice. I don't think anyone's doing anything wrong ever. I just think sometimes we have to get improvement. And that is going to go back to having a balanced approach to being an instructional leader and an organizational leader. Because your main focus as a principal is to be an instructional leader. Your goal is to lead everyone instructionally. But you have to think about the building, the organization of the system. So you're juggling those two jobs at all times. You got to be able to be specific when you're guiding people, and that's always going to be the most important thing, is that you are having to guide other people. All right, let's keep going. These are the objectives of the model. I'll give you a second to kind of read through that. And I always like to point out, if you don't know your core values, you can't lead effectively. And you may not know those core values when you step into the role of a leader, but it will develop. But everyone has core values. My core values, and the teachers will recite it for you. I want kids to feel safe and loved. I don't think you can educate another person if they don't feel a sense of safety and that they have a relationship with you. That everything I do goes back to those core values. I'm not going to implement something that makes people, including my staff, not feel safe. So just those types of things, knowing who you are is essential to being a leader. And I don't think I have to really go into a lot of detail with being focused on results. The accountability model is here and we all live under it. So this is a breakdown of the two types of leadership, which as a school leader, you have to operate from both instructional and organizational leadership. In the instructional piece, you have to be committed to the instruction, the curriculum, your assessments. That's where your time is spent. You have to have a deep involvement with the teaching and learning in your building. I go into classrooms every day. Teachers get a schedule of when I'm coming to their classrooms. It's an informal, and then we sit down during that week and have a feedback, because that to me is the meat and potatoes of what I do. As the only way to effectively know what's going on. How do you inform instructional practices if you spend your time at your desk? I actually have a standing desk that I sit in the middle rotunda that shows all three wings of my building. I just don't like to sit though. And that goes back to what I said, classroom observation and feedback. I don't believe in a one and done or two and done, one in the fall, one in the spring. I like to see people every day. Then as we talk about being an organizational leader, that's when you're focusing on how your school is functioning. What is the culture? What is the climate? Is it safe? Am I running a budget that is ensuring instruction? So those are the two type of roles or two types of hats that you wear constantly. This course is going to focus in on the 6 domains that have been developed by Carbo and Marzano. Domain 1, a data-driven focus on school improvement. 2 is your instruction of a valuable and guaranteed curriculum. And then 3, continuous development of teachers and staff. 4, your community of care and collaboration. 5, core values. And 6, resource management. Now, Carbo and Marzano's work is very vast. If you Google Robert J. Marzano, you will pull up a gazillion different books. He has really spent his career focusing on how to improve leadership. And so when you take the domains that are here, it talks about the different behaviors. It talks about what things should be in place. And you'll start, like I said, when you are reading these different domains, you'll start really thinking about what do you see in your own school? What do you see in your own leader? So that's going to be a good way of being reflective around some of these domains. So domain 1, and that's where your assignment for this Sunday, tomorrow, that you'll be submitting. It'll be around a data-driven focus on school improvement, which is broken into elements. And you see the 3 elements. If you cannot read data, how are you going to lead people? And I always say to these classes, if you are in a position where you are a coach, you are a PE or some type of a extracurricular teacher where you're not a school tested subject area, you need to attend data meetings. Because the first question that's asked at an assistant principal's interview or principal's interview is around data. That's the nature of the work. So you want to embed yourself in some of those areas if it's not the place that you are naturally. And you as the leader, I don't know, PLCs is where we break down our data. We talk about what we need to do differently. Tier meetings, MTSS process, we're always monitoring the progress of each student. Then are the interventions being implemented with fidelity? So those types of things as a school leader, they rest on you to make sure that they're being done. And again, if y'all have questions, please stop me, come off mute and ask. All right, so when we start talking about data, remember all the data you're using has to be measurable. And it's always going to have to be continuous improvement going towards the goal. So these are different things that align to that. Let y'all read through that. So the data, how and why. And if you're gonna identify what individual students need, that's gonna always be why you monitor data, because you want to know if students are gaining. Are they moving in the direction that you want them to move in? So these different areas, this just tells you how and why we use our data the way that we do. Okay. School-wide goals. Are you aware of what your principal has written in their yearly plan? That's the school-wide goal. What is it as a whole school are you all working towards? That's normally identified after the MAP data comes out in July. The principals start working on what areas need improvement. And that's where we set the track for the year and what we're going to identify. My school has very high proficiencies. We're almost at 90% proficient in ELA and math. So at this point, we have to work on making sure we don't have an achievement gap issue between our SPED population, our reduced and free lunch kiddos, where there's no skewing between the two different groups or three different groups. So that's where we have to focus, because you don't want to have growth of all to be high and then growth of the bottom 25% being very low. So that's what I mean when I say school-wide goals. That's the thing everyone in your building is working towards. And then you have to identify who's going to be on that, working towards that. What are they doing to do that? When and where? And I know a lot of high school people are different. I'm elementary, but even our specials teacher, music, library, they have to have a goal towards how do we make sure these kids stay tracking with the vast population, the all. So when you start working on your SMART goals assignment, part 2 will require you to put down the goals and how you're going to reach them. So you got to be very specific. It has to be measurable, attainable, results oriented. And if it's results oriented, what's the evidence? How do I check it? And then what's the time frame for it? Okay, so there is a SMART goals activity, but we're not going to do it just because of time. Again, I'm a respecter of time. I like for things to end when it's supposed to. Okay. These are the different levels of data analysis. So when you look at level 1, that's at first read to me. It's the first read of the data. How many students are proficient? How many kiddos fell below where they should have fallen? And that's with state tests, that's with discipline, attendance, all the things. Then when we get in level 2, we're looking at specific content. We're looking at different standards, the strands that seem to be a problem area. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What kids need interventions? Then we move to level 3, and you guys will have to do this with your part 2 of your data project. Root cause. Multiple sources of data are used to determine the root cause. Symptoms, the results of a problem. We have what we call we care meetings, and this when we sit down and we start looking at a lot of root causes. Is this kid failing because just doesn't understand? We need to move to tier. Is this student failing because mom feels like he needs to get out of school every day at 1:30? And so we have a lot of checkouts. So then that's an attendance problem. They're not learning because they're not in a seat. So that's what it means when we start looking at root cause. Could there be an issue with the student is ADHD and we're not medicated, so it's harder to get that kid engaged in the learning? So when you start looking at root causes, you look at it as a big umbrella first. You take the standards. As a school, how did we perform? As a grade, how did we perform? As this class, how did we perform? Then the students, how did the individual students perform? And do you see how the levels just keep breaking down? But when you get to the root cause, you're really trying to figure out what is the underlying reason. In years past, when I first started teaching this course, everyone wanted to list COVID as a root cause. Well, COVID wasn't the cause. It was the catalyst to why kids didn't come to school, because they didn't feel like they were safe at school, or they wanted to be home and not wear a mask. So then you had to dig a little deeper in that. I think we've gotten away from that because we're so post-COVID at this point. But when you look at root causes, you do have to drill down. I always say math is easier to drill down, because if a kid can't do fractions, you can reach back and say, oh, well, they never learned their multiplication facts, or they didn't get this part of this skill. It's easier to go back. Whereas in ELA, they can't summarize why. You really have to start drilling down through it to get to the root cause. Your data teams, their job is to zero in on what the instructional or curriculum changes need to be, because you need to know what needs to be done. And I one of my pet peeves is when a teacher sits in front of me and say, well, the kid just didn't do his best. Oh, he put his best up. He didn't want to bring his A game. So tell me why he thought that putting his A game in his pocket on test day was a thing. Because see, to me, that's not a root cause. A root cause is kid got out of the car this morning, mom had gotten all over him, and when he got in my class, he just didn't perform. There's the root cause. He had a bad morning. So that's what I mean when I hear teachers, and I don't know if you guys have ever gotten that frustrated, because it's out of frustration when we start getting upset about what the kid didn't do. But I always say we have 7 hours in a day to instruct kids. What did we do? I can't go back to I can't go home with them, and I can't wake up with them. I have to do what I can do within the parameters of the day. And so when you start thinking about root causes, that's where you start looking. As an educator, what is this kid missing to attain the goals that have been set for them? So just keep that in your pocket when you start looking at part 2 of your data project. And then as the educator, you need to know the critical achievement goals, and then you need to know how to monitor that data and know that students know the goal. Well, a lot of times we make goals for our class, but we never put it on the board. We never talk about it with kids. So the kids really need to know and be able to track their goals. Developing interventions, excuse me, developing interventions and support. We have a literacy specialist on our campus and a math specialist that we share. And so a lot of our MTSS process is done through our literacy specialist. And so that has been easier on the teachers. Now the teachers have to do the interventions for the tier 2 kiddos. And so they have to track that data. And our goal for tier 2 is that they move back to tier 1. Don't let them escalate to tier 3. And so you have to be aware of what's your school process. How do we handle kids with interventions? How do we track those interventions? Are the goals clear? Are they SMART goals? Keeping that in mind. Any questions about domain 1 before I roll into domain 2? All right, hearing none, I will keep going. All right, domain 2 is instruction of a viable and guaranteed curriculum. It has 4 elements that are listed here. And let me just say, a viable curriculum starts with standards. Mississippi Department of Education has given us those standards. I always used to tell my students when I was in the classroom, this is the bare minimum. We're smarter than the bare minimum. So let's see how farther past the bare minimum can we go. And I always told them that. I say, you know, all the kids in Mississippi has to do, will have to have these goals met. What can we do? Because I always wanted them to try to go above and beyond. And so with that being said, as the leader, you have to have a clear vision for instruction, how you want that to look in your school. You have to understand what the instructional practices are in your school. That's the only way to improve teaching. And the only way to know what those practices look like, you have to be in classrooms. See, it's like a whole circle of love. You have to ensure that the curriculum and the assessments align, just, you know, not only with the state and the district, but you have to start in your school. Are your things in your school horizontally aligned across the grade level, vertically aligned across the grade bands? So you need to make sure those things are in place. And that is focused on your essential standards. And then you're going to ensure that each student has the opportunity to learn the critical content of the curriculum. All students can learn. All means all. Curriculum. These are some very powerful statements. Essential content to be addressed in specific courses at specific grade levels. You got to have an idea of what is that? What is the essential content? Every grade level, every discipline area should know their essential content. Because if you don't, then we start teaching what we like. We start teaching from the bucket of fun things. We allow teachers pay teacher to design our curriculum. So if you don't know what your essential content is, that as a leader is going to, you will find that your performance is not where you want it to be. A guaranteed curriculum is designed to optimize learning for all students. Students may not all get to the designated point at the same time, but they all should be moving toward the goal. Expectations are imposed about curriculum. Content is available to all students. Teachers teach the essential curriculum. Teachers have time to address the essential content in the allocated time for teaching. The viability of the curriculum. It can be taught in the instructional time available to teachers. That is always a good question because I know the gift of time sometimes is also the hindrance of learning. And that's why, we are supposed to teach for learning and not teach because it's on our pacing guides or our scope and sequences around this is the way we do it. But making sure that we are focused on the depth of knowledge that we're giving students. This last one, I think is really important because instructional time must be protected. It is so hard, and you guys know this if you're still in the classroom, when that intercom comes on every 5 minutes, how kids are like squirrely birds. They lose all track, all focus. So trying to ensure that instructional time is protected is very important. Somebody got kicked out, I'm sorry. All right, teachers must develop new standards, align instructional units and lessons, and identify new resources that they may not have used in the past. I always say that the thing that teachers do the most are the things that they enjoy. And I was a creature of habit with things as well. However, instruction changes, kids change, and the way we deliver instruction should change. So you may have to give up some of those chairs lessons, because they're cute and the program matches them. High school people, not as much as elementary people. But sometimes as the leader, your job is to walk in and say, hey, guys, we're not going to do this program or this anymore because it does not match any standard that you're teaching. And that's a hard thing because that teacher has spent a lot of time developing the unit, making sure the program matches the unit, but what they missed was it doesn't match the standard. And that's our job, is to teach the standards. And as a leader, you have to be the bad guy sometimes. So domain 2, element 1. I often say, and I had a high school principal tell me this one time, I've never taught Spanish, but I do know what good teaching looks like. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And, we had a great conversation around the different subject areas because high school has so many different subject areas. And not only the areas, but you got AP, you got dual enrollment. And those principals are in those classrooms looking at all of that. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I know ELA and math in 3rd through 5th grade. I could do K-5, like I know instruction in that area. He said to me, he was like, I was a career and tech principal, and now I'm over at the high school. He said, I know good instruction. He said, I know the common language. I know what it looks like when teachers understand my vision. And I was like, okay. He said, and when we're in PLCs, we talk about what those classroom practices look like across those different subject areas. He said, so even though I can't speak the language, I know if they're teaching it correctly. So you don't have to be an expert in every subject area to understand when good instruction is going on in your building. So that's something to just think about as you're doing your classroom observations. So element 2 talks about how to improve teaching. What are the practices to improve teaching? Feedback, feedback, feedback. I often say I can remember when my principals would come in and observe me, and then in my box, there was my rubric. No one ever sat down to talk to me. And most times I was distinguished, so I guess it wasn't a point to talk to me. But even your most distinguished teachers want to have FaceTime with you. They want to hear you say, oh my gosh, the opening of your lesson, I could see how your kids were all hooked in and they were ready and they were engaged. Even your best teachers want that. So there is no reason why you shouldn't have a minute or two to talk to a teacher about a great lesson. Or, because we all talk to the teachers when there's a poor lesson. We're not gonna miss them, but you also have to have that time for your best teachers as well. How do we identify great instruction? The school leader identifies this by, first of all, going into classrooms. I'm gonna leave that because I believe in that. Those frequent in-class observations. I know in smaller schools, because we have smaller schools here in Madison County where there are maybe one, sometimes two teachers in a subject area, and those principals reach out to those of us that have bigger schools and ask if their teachers can come over and plan or just kind of be in a connection with other teachers. Because teaching in isolation, you don't know sometimes that your method has kind of run its course. So it's good to not teach in isolation. So, you have to be aware of current behaviors. After observing teachers, the principal needs to give feedback. Provide meaningful professional development to help change practices. If a teacher is struggling in an area, as the leader, you should be looking for what's the best method to help this teacher in that area. So element 3 is aligning your curriculum to standards. If you have curriculum that's not aligned to standards, then that's not really a good idea. But your job is to make sure that it's aligned with the essential state and district standards. You must have a solid understanding of the essential standards for each grade level. I meet with our, they've changed their name. They were the R&D team, but now they're the accountability team. I meet with them all the time just to make sure that our math standards are tracking in the right way. Our science standards, we redeveloped all of our science standards. We reorganized them. So we know when we take the first MVP, our kids aren't going to do well. We know this. We take the hit because we like the alignment the way that we have it. My science teacher were like, they don't understand this if we teach it first. Can we teach this first and then move and pace that way? We spent a day going back through it, making sure we had those essential standards paced in the order we felt like kids will learn it better. So we take the hit. My assistant superintendent knows that when those first MVP scores come out, Mansdale Upper's first science benchmark assessment isn't going to look like mid-year because we take the hit. So that's the kind of thing that, as the leader, if you make an informed decision, know why you're making it. Being able to do that. Making sure you have rigor for whatever your teachers are teaching, that they're not just in there doing basic things. Formative assessments, always valuable. Teachers should be doing this often. And your content teachers and PLCs must, I should have put that in bold, continually review all assessments for alignment with the standards. We are implementing a new reading program in 3rd grade, and that's been the teacher's biggest thing. They're just hung up on. I don't know if we're hitting the standards that's going to be on this first benchmark. I don't know. And like, y'all just breathe. We'll see. We're not going to panic before we need to. So element 4 is all about ensuring viability of the curriculum. As little as 4 to 6% of class time is devoted to complex thinking skills. We as educators across everyone should be making sure kids are spending time in analysis, comparing and contrasting, generating hypothesis, problem solving, and they should have a little bit of productive struggle. The going phrase right now in America is that we are educating kids for jobs that they don't even know they're going to have. That's the going thing. And I understand that, because if we don't teach them to problem solve, generate a hypothesis, how are we going to teach them to get on these jobs that none of us have ever done and be able to be effective? So I do believe critical thinking skills, complex thinking skills are the way to teach kids. Leaders need to examine data and talk to teachers. If you don't ever see your principal, that's not good. It's just not. I had a substitute teacher say, like, you just pop up out of nowhere. I'm like, I'm everywhere. That's my job. I need to see what kids are doing and what adults are doing. Non-negotiable standards. You have to have your non-negotiables. What are things in your building that you know are best practices and you're not going to let teachers skirt on? In my building, they know, like, we teach kids number sense. I don't want to see a little happy trick on the board that you're teaching a kid. I don't care about an alligator eating a big number. Tell me why that's the big number. The kid needs to understand why that number is greater than the other number. Because when they get to 5th grade and they have to identify why this decimal is bigger than this decimal, is not the big number. So we don't teach tricks. That's my non-negotiable in math. If you don't understand the number sense behind why we're doing this skill, you should be sending an email, waving a flag for our math specialist to come in. So those are things as a leader you have to understand. And having an understanding of written curriculum and taught curriculum. Just because it's written, are the teachers teaching it? Textbooks are one resource. I have yet to find a textbook that teaches every standard in our Mississippi College and Career Readiness packet. I have yet to find a textbook that does that. You have to use a textbook as a resource, and the teacher has to be the expert. And so, element 5, ensure an opportunity to learn critical content. I'm gonna sum all of this up in just this last bullet point, that the leader must clearly set expectations and constantly monitor them. That way you understand that all kids have access to it. You understand that your school culture is moving in high expectations for all students. And if we're moving in that direction and we see a kid struggling, then we put that kid in interventions. So we go back to these things all the time, because as a leader, your job is to have a pulse on what is going on in the building with teaching and learning and behavior. So we're going to skip the speed date activity just because of time. As I said, I do value other people's time, only because that's the one thing in life we can't get back. All right, I know that was very quick and a lot of information at one time. It's just to give you an overview of domains 1 and 2. When we meet again, we will be looking at, we will be midway of our course, and that class is on September 28th, and it will start at 8 a.m. and the link is listed in week 5, module 5, week 5. So you will have access to get to it. When we meet, if you have any questions about your part 1 of your data project, this will be the point where you get to ask those questions. That class, we're going to dive deep into teacher evaluations. That'll be the meat and potatoes of that course, of that virtual class, because you will have an assignment where you have to do a teacher evaluation using videos that are posted in the Canvas module. Any questions?
Do we have access to the PowerPoint?
No. It is not in the Canvas module. But you will have access to this video, because I will upload it to Canvas tonight. It takes about 30 minutes for it to download and everything, and then I'll upload it. My daughter is a junior maid, so she is in her room getting dressed right now, because she is the only junior who has not picked out her dress. You know, that lifestyle. So that's where I'm going next. And as soon as we get back, I will upload the video, and I will try my hardest to get 40 assignments graded. I'm not making that as a promise. It may not be finished until tomorrow, but I will get all of those things graded. Here's the thing. If you don't get feedback on something, I don't take points for it. Okay. I will not take points off of your in-text citation if you've never seen that on comments from me. I just believe in grading fairly. I hate the word fair, but I do agree in grading your work in the most fair processes possible. If you use first person over third person, the first assignment, I will say, please don't use first person when writing. I won't take points for it. If you do it the second time, you will lose points for it. So that's my way of grading, because I just don't want to be punitive at this level. Y'all are adults, graduate course. I mean, I'm not going to be that punitive. Any questions about grading? Any questions about assignments coming up? Do not miss orientation. Dr. Sellers does not like it when people miss orientation. Okay?
So we'll be okay to wait to submit our second assignment until we
No.
get your recommendations for this one?
No.
No, go ahead and
Your
submit.
assignments need to be submitted on time, because if they're not, remember from the beginning, I'm going to mark
But
you as
isn't that tomorrow at midnight? Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I had that.
Yes, go ahead and submit it. What I was saying to you is that even though you may not have comments on the first one, if you do that again on the second one, that's not on you, that's on me, because I didn't give you feedback.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, but please submit on time, y'all. 11:59, 59 seconds. Go ahead and put it in. Hit submit. 12:01 is late. I don't know why you were awake at that time, but it is.
I won't be.
I'm not either. I'm a 9:30 girl, except for football Fridays, and then I'm like, why? Those of us who teach elementary, we have to be at work at the butt crack of dawn. So it's harder to stay up late. Those high school people who don't clock in at 8:30, I wish. All right, guys, any questions, comments, concerns? This is the last go. Okay, hearing none, y'all have a great weekend. I'm going to end with what I started with. If you have questions, if you have any concerns, please don't hesitate to email me. I see emails before I see inbox responses. Inbox responses, I have to be in Canvas, and I do not check Canvas every single day. Okay, emails come to the lovely device that's attached to my hip, and I do check it every day. So send me an email over an inbox if it's important. If it's just something you want me to know and you inbox me, that's fine. I will read it when I open Canvas. But with all of that being said, y'all have a great weekend and take some time to just rest up, because Monday's coming. Bye.